people aren't coming home to the Democrats, which is, why blacks are not coming home to the Democrats? Because Democratic messaging is full of that's why.
Wow.
And talk about cost of living.
Veteran political strategist and hairless goblin, James Carville trash talked his fellow Dems.
Picture James Carville, the man who thinks he is the greatest political puppet master, being so thoroughly roasted that even his own hairline is jealous. Greg Gutfeld doesn't hold back while speaking. He's dismantling plans, giving Carville little cuts, and acting as though he's trying to use a chessboard to play Monopoly. Don't think political takeovers are boring. At the conclusion, your jaw might fall to the floor, so stay still. It's funny too.
Kennedy, that nice little old lady is making some sense. Right.
She really is.
She's such a gentle lesbian. What's her name?
It's like Gollum with boobies.
Oh, the president is
Why are they listening to him?
Why aren't they listening to him?
Yeah,
because he's bashing their message. Like, that's all they got is the messaging they're running on now.
Tyrus, I feel like he's like a therapist to the Democrats. Democrats are like a patient. And he's just tired of their constant whining without actually doing the work that a therapist would tell you to do.
Well,
If you enjoy it, kindly subscribe to the channel. You'll be surprised at how much it helps. Let's begin then. James Carville is the one who seems to think that shouting makes you smarter. Just met his match. Greg Gutfeld doesn't want to strike up a conversation. He intends to reveal all of Carville's painstakingly orchestrated moments of political brilliance. Additionally, it is messy, but in an engaging, popcorn-worthy way.
Not up to embracing Pumpkinhead just yet. Carville's like a parent who doesn't say anything about his rotten brat until it affects him and crashes his Mercedes. This problem's been here for years. It's done untold damage. It's caused a lot of death. And now he calls BS on it. Thanks, but you're showing up at last call. Let's not forget what else he said. He said that people that go to Trump rallies are pretty much brain-dead deplorables. Said some pretty awful things. If he could call them retarded, he would have. So his criticisms actually hit everyone, and it doesn't come from a place of common sense or common people. It comes from an elitist perch. He's not a man of the people. He's a man protecting a system that paid him well. On the whole, he would prefer to jail a Trump supporter who stole a podium.
Carville might be used to speaking out loud during dinner parties. However, Gutfeld approaches his arguments as though they were being disassembled in slow motion. The precision of someone who has spent decades perfecting their sarcasm is evident in every phrase. Carville's passion is characteristic. He's sweating like he just ran a marathon and making policy ideas like he's narrating a Disney movie.
The theory is that Carville's right because, who's more likely, to get hit by lightning? Somebody who's sitting in their couch at home or somebody who goes out at night for a run. Anybody who actually takes action puts themselves at risk. And this is an administration that's always in action, always in play, a lot like you on the weekends.
Hard to see insight into, what Carville says. I don't know how he became the wise man of politics.
Nostradamus.
It's always
Gutfeld must, of course, point out that passion is not necessarily an indication of wisdom. It would be equivalent to a man pretending to be swimming in synchrony while thrashing around in a swimming pool. It is impossible to unsee after it has been highlighted. Gutfeld does not merely ridicule the volume.
Carville's latest cope, a tired Nazi trope. James Carville popped his little bald head out from dirt again to compare people who do business with the Trump administration to Nazi collaborators during World War II. Roll it, Nora.
how disgraced must these companies that are sucking up to him, that are giving him tens of millions of dollars for access?
Carville looks like someone liberated him from a glass tank at Petco. Glad he's taking a break from hunting down Sigourney Weaver.
No, the showmanship is what he targets. The hand gestures seem to have been designed specifically to confuse cameras in a physics lab. The problem is that he treats metaphors like a banquet, introducing so many that nobody remembers what he was really trying to say. Instead of merely witnessing it, Gutfeld enjoys it. He dissects them like a detective inspecting a murder scene. The horse was a cute metaphor, but did it really win the race? Or did it just eat the track? It's subtle, surgical, and funny because Carville can't respond without seeming to be attempting to explain difficult ideas to a small child. Next is Carville's love of the spectacular revelation. He treats political criticism as though he were going to divulge the formula for Coca-Cola. In contrast, as he walks around the kitchen, pointing to the ingredients and shaking his head, Gutfeld casually wonders whether anybody else knows that all of these revolutions he has hyped up have about the same impact as a firecracker that goes out in midair. It's stylish, naughty, and funny. Carville's livelihood was based on convincing people that his pyrotechnics never fail, even if they barely light the fuse.
Saying these people should be placed in pajamas, have their heads shaved, and march down Pennsylvania Avenue and spit on?
I'm not saying that these people should be placed in pajamas and have their heads shaved, march down Pennsylvania Avenue and spit on. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that did happen. And I'm saying that these people betrayed the French nation in the same way that I think that these law firms and these giant corporate conglomerates are betraying the United States.
Now, I'm not saying that James Carville is a barely functioning retard.
Gutfeld's method is fierce yet deliberate, never random. He shines a light on Carville's flashes of genius only to set them beside the harsh outcomes that follow, allowing humor to rise naturally from the clash between what's promised and what actually happens. You know the line, "Trust me, this will change everything." It sounds convincing until, of course, nothing changes. That's Carville in a nutshell. But Gutfeld doesn't stop at telling. He demonstrates it, almost like replaying a moment in slow motion where someone's been using an upside-down map for 40 years. The rhythm of it is steady, clever, and quietly precise. Carville believes he's advancing the attack, yet Gutfeld's counter lands with the effortless control of a comic who's mastered the craft of making people laugh while keeping a perfectly serious face. What makes it brilliant is its familiarity. Gutfeld's take on Carville isn't just about mocking his volume or ego. It's about exposing a universal truth. The loudest voice in the room isn't always the wisest. Watching Gutfeld reveal the obvious blind spots that Carville misses gives the audience a shared moment of amusement and relief. It's a gentle reminder that charisma doesn't equal competence. The entire dynamic feels like watching someone try to build IKEA furniture with one hand tied behind their back, insisting they're being efficient, while Gutfeld, calm as ever, notes that the shelf is upside down.
It's a perfect example of the virtue signal. It's words without deeds. That is the Democrat Party. That's why you guys are in a shambles. So this dork comes out and says, "We're doing this on stolen land." Well, great. Pack up and leave. You know, do it on a barge in the ocean. Nobody stole the ocean. Do that. Oh, no. The acknowledgement. That's the action that we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. It's the thought that counts.
There's an irresistible layer of irony woven through it all. Carville made a name for himself by picking people apart, exposing their flaws, and pretending he alone could see the invisible strings controlling the political stage. Yet, rather than raising his voice to match Carville's, Gutfeld dismantles the performance piece by piece, showing exactly how the illusion works. He reveals that the so-called puppet master has become entangled in his own strings, spinning a tale that only functions if reality itself is ignored. It's sharp, witty, and deeply satisfying. What sets Gutfeld apart is his timing. He knows precisely when to pause, allowing the ridiculousness of Carville's arguments to sink in. It's a study in comedic control. The longer Carville tries to defend a sinking strategy, the funnier it becomes. Picture a magician botching the same trick again and again while Gutfeld sits in the front row, calmly eating popcorn and whispering, "Really?" The crowd doesn't need prompting. The situation delivers its own punchline. And the visual contrast only heightens the humor. You can see Carville pacing energetically, eyes wide and hands flailing like he's just discovered fire, while Gutfeld's dry commentary cuts through the chaos with precision. Every exaggerated gesture, every burst of misplaced confidence becomes material for laughter. The lack of visuals in Gutfeld's prose somehow amplifies it. Your imagination fills in the blanks, making it even more vivid. Picture Carville frantically trying to herd invisible cats, while Gutfeld quietly labels each one drama and chaos and ego. The image alone tells the entire story.
Value in this world. I'm not saying that at all. I'm also not saying it's pointless to tar and feather him because he still sheds his skin twice a year. And I'm also not saying if James Carville choked to death on one of his morning feedings of live mice, he wouldn't be missed. Wow, it sure is fun to not say things. I'm going to start not saying things about James Carville more often. All right, Emily, I am going to give him the shout. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt he was drunk, because that guy was a mess.
That was horrifying.
There's also a quiet but cutting satire aimed at the idea of expertise itself. Carville is hailed as a master of every subject, yet strangely, his supposed expertise never seems to influence real outcomes. Gutfeld doesn't need to mock him outright or raise his voice. He simply lets the contrast speak volumes. The forecasts were daring, the energy contagious, but then came the election reversal, completely opposite to what was confidently predicted. The humor here is crisp, understated, and expertly timed, making you laugh while marveling at Carville's unwavering self-belief. The highlights come when Gutfeld calmly exposes the inconsistencies. Carville always acts stunned by events, despite insisting he's perpetually one step ahead. With surgical precision and understated wit, Gutfeld underscores the irony. It's like watching someone sketch a map while wandering in circles. The more Carville doubles down, the funnier it becomes. It's the kind of comedy that feels both sharp and innocent, like watching a child in a superhero cape attempt to rescue the world, unaware they can't actually fly. Yet Gutfeld's humor isn't mean-spirited, it's methodical. Each remark connects seamlessly to the next, like pearls threaded on a single strand, building a rhythm of escalating absurdity. By the end, the laughter isn't just aimed at Carville, it's admiration for Gutfeld's finesse. His ability to dissect overconfidence with calm precision leaves you astonished that someone so sure of himself could miss the most obvious signs hiding in plain sight.
And, the Dems, they set themselves up as some impotent, ineffective fool. They tell you right off the bat that they're doing something wrong, but they're going to do nothing to fix it. It's a big fly around here.
It's huge.
But it's how they handle crime, the border, trans. They do platitudes. They keep them safe from guilt. But you got to ask, who is this for? It's not for Native Americans. Is it for Liz Warren? Maybe. Who knows? But it's kind of amazing that you don't have one Democrat that has the balls to say, just stop it. We've had enough of this.
Carville's theatricality, parallels, and booming confidence. There is a plethora of comedy simply waiting to be uncovered. And Gutfeld does it in a chic manner, giving the audience a sense of intelligence and letting them enjoy the show while subtly highlighting the chaos that occurs behind the scenes. You can't help but appreciate the inventiveness here, despite the straightforward goal. By the time you've completed the entire takedown, you've seen Carville in a way that he has probably never seen himself. Loud and confident, yes, but yet very human. You leave smiling, shaking your head, and maybe wondering why anyone ever thought that shouting proved you were right. And finally, that lingering interest. What is Carville's specific response to this kind of roast? Does he double down? Is that a strange grin on his face? Or does he at last stop to consider that perhaps his talk about his political genius is just a funny joke for...
This is what they laid out as the latest playbook from the DNC. It was to get out there and swear and cuss.
Yeah. Fight.
Mean,
We've heard that
make
before.
fun. All this kind of thing. I mean, I think that's what we just saw from him. I don't know if that anger works. It hasn't in the past for Democrats. But remember James Carville in the New York Times just a couple weeks ago, maybe it was a month ago now. He was the one who penned the piece, "My Fix for the Confused and Leaderless Democrats." So a month later, they're still not listening. But he said, Ken Martin, the DNC chair, he said, "I'm sick and tired of Democrats bringing a pencil to a knife."
When the screen goes away, there is only one indisputable fact left. If political strategy were a comedy, Carville would be the accidental clown and Gutfeld would be the shrewd stand-up who anticipated it. The irony, the subtle burns, the laughter. They educate as well as entertain, illustrating that self-assurance. Sons of Substance is only a show in a Gutfeld. He's in the front row, enjoying every second of the mayhem while holding a popcorn. And the worst is yet to come. Carville is more than just loud. He emanates a stubbornly theatrical assurance. He looks like a man who has been given a megaphone, a foghorn, and a marching band, all in order to make a point that no one asked for. Gutfeld is not merely aware of it, he makes the ridiculous seem better. As if it were an exact sport, Gutfeld is ready, clutching a stopwatch and timing each exaggerated gesture. Next is the pattern. Carville typically constructs these dramatic storylines as if he were telling a political thriller. He asserts that the nation will be shocked by this conduct. Gutfeld allows the tension to build before pausing to humorously remind everyone that the purported shockwave was, in fact, more akin to a gentle ripple in a pond. When the drama falls apart under its own weight, Carville's skillfully written suspense turns into excellent comedic timing.
The Katie Britts and the James Comers and the Tommy Tubervilles, they're all intellectual giants in this crazy cult we call the Republican Party. Before I let you go, we got to do a little log jam here with all of Trump's legal stuff, and it looks as though he can't play.
Carville will act as though he did, but he can easily forget the dozen times he didn't foresee every move. Gutfeld's criticism, which mirrors every omission, is both witty and blatantly evident. When everything is said and done, you're almost in awe of how someone could maintain such confidence with so little accountability. And then, of course, there is the ego. Carville proudly wears each prediction, victory, and dramatic revelation like a championship belt. In contrast, Gutfeld approaches the ego as a balloon, gently pushing it, letting it wobble, and then watching it slowly shrink just enough to provide the greatest amount of laughs. Because it's surgical rather than aggressive, the effect is quite fulfilling. You can't ignore the levels of absurdity as the laughter is fueled by Carville's self-assured enthusiasm and amplified by Gutfeld's sharp remarks. Carville tends to compare politics to everything from athletics to pastry, treating each connection as though it were a work of art. Gutfeld does more than just point out the flaws, of course. He makes them larger. He shows how Carville becomes a talking, walking, and even confused metaphor machine as the parallels often break apart on their own.
James Carville's, what do you mean? What do you
I
mean by
seem
that?
to remember there was this guy, James Carville, last week who said that Harris was going to just completely destroy Trump. I don't remember.
I think that was a body double.
I take him at his word. I mean, he did say that. He was adamant about it. I think I like the fact that AOC is being useful, and that's a change. She's not demeaning people that voted for Trump. I mean, she's also being very cunning.
Watching a child splash through a muddy puddle feels a lot like sitting through a long sermon on life's lessons. The topic itself might be absurd, but it's the way it's presented that leaves a lasting impression. You can't help but laugh while also admiring the boldness on display. Gutfeld doesn't just critique, he elevates. Every misstep, exaggeration, and theatrical gesture from Carville becomes a lesson in both humility and humor. Carville isn't merely the loud, irritating political strategist. He's a living example of what happens when bravado and showmanship collide without a hint of self-awareness. Through it all, Gutfeld demonstrates that brilliance doesn't always need a spotlight. It can be quiet, measured, and devastatingly effective. Even when the spectacle unravels on its own, you end up shaking your head, smiling, and perhaps rethinking every time you've been swayed by sheer confidence. Carville may see himself as a titan, but Gutfeld reminds us that even giants can stumble over their own grandeur. The effect is both clever and charming, often funny, sometimes insightful, and always revealing. It's the kind of performance that makes you want to rewind, catch the small details you missed, and appreciate the subtle genius behind the humor.